Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is our regular City Council meeting for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022. If you would, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Present.
Present.
Present. Present. Here.
All city council members are present.
Thank you. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda?
There are none tonight.
Thank you. Now we enter our call for public comment section. This is an opportunity for the public to address council. We do ask that it be items of least relative importance to the council and the city. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak to the council tonight? If not, we can forego the reading of all the other language. Moving on to item number 6, approval of minutes. Consideration of minutes of the July 19th, 2022 regular city council meeting. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 19, 2022 regular city council meeting as presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is it the vote? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Dave Frank,
Yes.
Barbara Bynum,
Yes.
Doug Glassbell,
Yes.
J. David Reed,
Yes.
Ed Ulibarri.
Yes.
We have a unanimous vote.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Item number 7, special events alcohol permit. City council consideration of the approval of a special events alcohol permit in conjunction with the closing of Apollo Road for our Funk Fest on August 13th, 2022. And staff, City Clerk Lisa Del Piccolo.
Thank you, Mayor Frank. Black Canyon Rotary Club did put in an application for a special events permit to sell and serve alcohol at Funk Fest on Saturday, August 13th. And I'm sorry, do I have my microphone on? Okay. This event is always held in conjunction with the closure of Apollo Road. And according to our regulations and municipal code, this requires city council approval. So the application is in the meeting packet along with the premises map. Excuse me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. We did have one question concerning the applicant name, that the name of the current president of Black Canyon Rotary Club is changed from William Bell to Ashley Petek, who is the current president.
Correct, and that has been updated in the meeting packet.
Thank you. Just as a point of clarification. Are there any questions from council? Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to, excuse me, I move to approve a special events alcohol permit in conjunction with the closure of Apollo Road for the Funk Fest on August 13th, 2022, as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Dave Frank,
Yes.
Barbara Bynum,
Yes.
Doug Glassbell,
Yes.
J. David Reed,
Yes.
Ed Ulibarri.
Yes.
We have a unanimous vote.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to item number 8, and Mr. Reed has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I serve as general counsel to the METSA organization, so I'm going to recuse myself from consideration of this matter, and I will depart.
Thank you, sir. And I can read all the language while you're walking. Item number 8 is ordinance 2593 on first reading. City Council consideration of ordinance 2593 on first reading. An ordinance of the City of Montrose, Colorado, delegating authority to the Board of Directors of the Montrose Emergency Telephone Service Authority, or METSA, to set the rate of the charge imposed on service users pursuant to CRS 2911-102, 102.5, and 103. Presenting this is City Attorney Ben Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the work session on July 18th, I had presented you with a a question in regard to how you'd like to see staff proceed with this. Specifically, the second whereas in the ordinance, as a refresher, it recites language from the IGA, which is our agreement with METSA, requiring us to annually authorize a fee to fund METSA or to delegate that authority to METSA rather than seeing it each year. I got two different directions or directives from the council. One was for it to come back annually, and then the other was to make it a perpetual delegation, which we had discussed would be revocable at your direction. We can change that in the future if you want to, in other words. Just in casually counting up what I thought the votes would be, I had to go with where I thought the majority was on the council, and that would be for the perpetual type of delegation. So that is the ordinance which you will find in your packets. Do you have any questions for me, or if you have more technical questions, our METSA coordinator is here, Mr. Matt Gage, and so he could answer those. I won't be much help with that part.
Very good. And for clarification, could we explain what the charge for METSA is and what its purpose is?
Matt, do you mind helping out with that? Sure. Do you have a microphone?
If you wouldn't mind, come up and approach the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
The METSA emergency telephone charge is used to purchase 911 telephone service for all citizens and visitors to Montrose County. We also use those monies to help fund the operational costs in Wesco Dispatch.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Yes. This is a fee that shows up on people's home lines or their cell phone lines?
All of the above.
All the above, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it currently is a couple dollars?
$1.81.
$1.81, okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Is that an additional $1.80 added to what's existing?
In addition to what, sir?
Well, are these fees already on?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the new fees, are those additional to the old fees? So it's a total of $1.80 per?
Yes, METSA's charge is $1.81 in total, and the charge has existed in varying amounts for approximately 25 years.
So this is not an additional, it's just a kind of a reaffirmation of that existing fee.
Thank you.
You bet.
We're not even deciding anything about the fee tonight. We're deciding that we're going to delegate the authority to make any changes to that fee to the METSA board, and the city of Montrose is represented on that board by our chief of police.
That's correct.
So we do have adequate representation, so should any change become necessary, we would hear about it right away from our chief of police, and we would be updated on that very quickly. Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you. If not, I will open a hearing. Is there any member of the public that wishes to address the hearing? Seeing none, I will close the hearing, and we will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we pass ordinance 2593 on first reading as presented.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Dave Frank,
Yes?
Barbara Bynum,
Yes.
Doug Glassbell,
Yes.
Ed Ulibarri.
Yes.
All present have voted yes.
Thank you. We'll give Mr. Reed a moment to get back up. While he's coming up, I will read the next item. Item number 9, Resolution 2022-12. City Council consideration of Resolution 2022-12, authorizing the City of Montrose Police Department to file a Victims Assistance Law Enforcement, or a VAIL, grant for 2 victims advocate positions through the 7th Judicial District Victims Assistance Board, try saying that 3 times fast, for a total of $48,080, authorizing the Chief of Police to act in connection with the application and to provide such additional information as required, and authorizing the city manager, chief of police, and finance director to sign the grant application and reporting documents. And this will be Chief Hall. And do we have Chantel Bainbridge here?
We do. So, yes, Mr. Mayor and City Council, I'll come before you tonight requesting authorization to apply for a VAIL grant. City Council in recent years has seen this grant authorization come before you before, but there's definitely a change this year versus previous years. Chantel is here with us tonight. She does a great job as our police department's victims advocate. And what we've seen over the last 10 years is a significant rise in the number of victims that she services to the tune of about 67%. In particular, though, there's been some other changes recently in legislation in Colorado, which has required victims advocates to now serve on weekends, along with court staff, judges, district attorneys, public defenders, because of recent bond reform. And so as a result, Chantel is now having to serve in her victims advocate role on Sundays in collaboration with some of our partners like the Montrose County Sheriff's Office. She also has other collateral duties like what you see here today with Apple, our facility dog, who has become a great asset to the police department in servicing victims. So Apple also deploys with her. So for many reasons and things that we discussed in our work session, we are requesting to add a second position and request funding for that second victims advocate position with the increase in the number of victims that the police department is serving. So as a result, that total amount, as the mayor read, is $48,080. The second victims advocate salary, or half of that salary that we'd be applying to VAIL for, is $20,080, with the intent to apply for the other half of that second position's salary to the VOCA board or grant here in the next 2 years, so that hopefully we would have 2 victims advocate positions fully funded through grants, both from the federal government and from the state of Colorado. And then if you have any questions for Chantel or I, we're here to answer them.
Great. Chantel, would you have anything you'd like to add to that? You would come up to
Sure.
the microphone at the podium and just state your name and address for the record.
Oh, okay. I'm Chantel Bainbridge. I'm the victim advocate with Montrose Police Department. While I appreciate the consideration, the number of victims that we are serving now and that we have served in the past has significantly grown, as certain areas such as sexual assault, domestic violence. We attend a lot more death notifications as well over the years. This year is significantly higher than this time last year. So we definitely are in need of more advocates, not only with my department, but with pretty much all the departments, as well as the Victims' Rights Act continues to grow. So they added 5 additional crimes within the last 2 years that we also have to, that are responsible for providing victims' rights to. So we don't anticipate them stopping that. They just continue to grow. So I appreciate your consideration for this.
Thank you. We appreciate the hard work you put in very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions for either the chief or Chantel?
Or Apple the dog.
Or Apple? Apple will probably answer any questions you have.
How
Seeing
could
none,
you not know
we'll,
with Apple in the audience?
She hasn't quite learned etiquette yet because she's turned her back on you.
actually, I look at it that she's protecting us from anybody coming in the doorway. See, that's a responsible dog.
Maybe way after we support this, she'll turn around.
I don't know.
Okay, so getting us back on track, we will accept public comment on this. Is there any member of the public that would wish to address us on this issue? Seeing none, we would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-12 as presented.
Second?
There is a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Dave Frank,
Yes.
Barbara Bynum,
Yes.
Doug Glassbell,
Yes.
J. David Reed,
Yes.
Ed Ulibarri.
Yes.
We have a unanimous vote.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Moving on to item number 10. Apple didn't turn around.
There we go.
Moving on to item number 10, the City Council consideration of the award of professional services agreement to Points Consulting in the amount of $48,890 for completion of a City of Montrose housing needs assessment. And this will be City Engagement Specialist Ross Valdez.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. Tonight I'm asking you to consider the award of a professional services agreement to Points Consulting in the amount of $48,890. Last year, with approval from Council, the City of Montrose applied for the DOLA Innovative Housing Strategies Planning Grant. And this year, the City of Montrose was awarded $114,000 from DOLA's planning grant, and that includes a matching contribution of 40%, which would be up to $76,000 from the City of Montrose. For this request for proposal, we issued the RFP on June 17th, 2022, and we received 4 proposals on July 11th, 2022. Each were evaluated by City of Montrose planning staff as well as staff members from community housing organizations. In the packet, you'll see that there is a table that indicates the different consultants that bid and their price and corresponding rating. The rating was a score between 0 to 4 and was conducted independently by each evaluation committee member. You'll notice that Points Consulting had the highest score as well. What we are looking at as far as a project schedule is having the housing needs assessment completed by March of 2023, with work commencing as early as August of 2022. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Valdez?
I just wanted to, for the record, that includes transitional housing study for people that are in between homes as well as for the homeless?
Yeah, so that's going to include demographic information and studies of, let's see, how do we outline it in our RFP, subpopulations that include people with disabilities, older adults, and people experiencing homelessness. So that typically would include folks that are utilizing transitional housing, rapid rehousing, supportive housing as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any ideas why that particular bid was half the price of the other bids? Are we getting the same quality of work? Obviously, their score is the highest.
Yeah, so they had a compelling narrative, and 3 out of the 4 consultants described the amount of hours that they would dedicate to the project, and they fell right in the middle, actually. So it wasn't like they were going to dedicate any less time necessarily to the project. And so I'm not sure why it came in so low. We did actually reach out to another community that conducted a housing needs assessment, and they had high praise for the work that they conducted there. And so we feel fairly confident that they're going to conduct a high level of work here as well.
Thank you.
Very good.
Oh, and in addition to that, there's also funds that will be allocated to revise city policy. And so if there are any areas where we feel that there's a deficit of attention, perhaps, there might be the opportunity to leverage some of those remaining dollars to be able to kind of fill that gap.
Very good. So we will accept public comment. Is there any member of the public who wishes to make a comment? Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, I move to award a professional service agreement to Points Consulting in the amount of $48,890 for the completion of a City of Montrose housing needs assessment as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Dave Frank?
Yes.
Barbara Bynum?
Yes.
Doug Glassbell?
Yes.
J. David Reed?
Yes.
Ed Ulibarri?
Yes.
We have a unanimous vote.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 11, our Water Resource Inventory and Master Plan Professional Services Contract. City Council consideration of a professional services contract award to LRE Water in the amount of $75,000 for completion of a water resource inventory and master plan. And this is Chief Engineer Scott Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. So no major changes from when we talked about it at the work session, with the exception of we have a consultant to recommend now. So initially we presented it generically while we were in the process of reviewing the consultants. We are recommending award to LRE Water. Scored the highest throughout our review, which included engineering and utilities, and then did a lot of reference calls and got glowing reviews everywhere we looked. So this definitely seemed like the right people for the job, and are actually serving. I have done similar studies for a lot of our surrounding communities, so they are familiar. They're in the area and familiar with some of the nuances of water resources in the on this side of the hill. Just to do a quick recap of what the project aims to do for the benefit of the public and any council members that may have been absent on the work session. So this is kind of geared towards getting a lot of our comprehensive water resources planning into a single document. This is deep enough that it doesn't really lend itself well to be in the comprehensive plan. We want to take a deep dive on this issue because water is key to life out here on the west. So this ultimate document would be a kind of a master plan document that could be used for many purposes. One is to serve for educating council, city staff, the public, succession planning, things of that sort. So anyone can pick it up and have a really good idea of our water resources portfolio. We want to use this as a tool to facilitate and guide responsible development, responsible land use codes as they relate to water. I'll just say we are sitting really well, thanks to the work of our predecessors, as far as water resource yield and availability. Say we have plenty of water to spare, but not a drop to waste. So we want to be good stewards of that and be good models of that for other communities. Another thing that's important for us to understand is we have a water service area boundary. We want to make sure that the water resources we have are enough to cover the full build out of that water resource area, service area. And then also, we often get requests to expand our district along the fringes into possibly other districts. There is a mechanism to do that and through agreement between the districts, but we want to make sure in doing so we aren't cutting ourselves short within the district that we do already have and are obligated to fill out. And then obviously there's a lot of challenges going on the larger regional basis with the Colorado River and its shortcomings, so we want to make sure we're planning properly from what may be coming down the pipe due to those shortages and potential compact calls, climate change issues, stuff like that. And then lastly, it will include a large public outreach element, so we want to engage the public throughout this process, understand what they would like to see. Obviously, everything comes with a trade-off. You know, you don't want to go too far down the xeriscape hole, but you know, just make sure that decisions we're making are reflective of what our community would like to see, and again, are responsible and good examples to be a good steward of our resources. So the project was originally going to be done this year. We got it out late enough, and with our availability as well as the contractor's availability, we decided to split it up into 2 years. We did budget $75,000 this year, so we'll use probably half of that. Then you'll see a budget request for whatever wasn't used this year to carry over to next year on next year's budget. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
And for the outreach, we will be posting notifications not only on our website, but through media and social media as well, letting the public know when and where those opportunities for input are.
Certainly. Yep. Pretty similar to the comprehensive plan type outreach where we'll have town halls, but also individual sessions if people need to meet, stuff like that. So,
very good.
Do you know if anything like this was done for Project 7 for that new water treatment plant?
So Project 7 is focused on treatment more than water resources. So the water resources and the water rights and shares that feed Project 7 are held by the various entities. So they serve as kind of the treatment organization, or they're responsible for treatment. So the water that's fed to them is given through, or is fed to them through our individual water resources. So they generally don't delve into the water resources world. Obviously that's part of their design to understand what the exchange between Ridgeway and Gunnison the Gunnison Tunnel would be, and how that would change and how that works with water users. But they generally don't do any water resource planning. They'd leave that to the entities that hold so water resources, like the city.
Scott, excuse me. One thing, I think there's, at least my sense is that there's generally a lot of confusion and misunderstanding out in the public with respect to water resources generally. And I would hope that these outreach programs that we have would not only be taking input from the public, but be informational and educational as well to kind of clarify and help clear up some of the misunderstandings that I think are out there.
Certainly, and we can absolutely make that a focus, and we see that too. There is a lot of confusion because it is complicated. We have a really unique kind of water resources regime around here. So yeah, I think it's a great idea to incorporate that. And we, independent from that too, we do try and sit on panels and educate people where our water comes from when opportunities arise. So definitely keep that on the radar.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Murphy? Seeing none, we will accept public comment. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak on this issue? Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, if I may interrupt for just a moment.
Oh, yes, please.
I wanted to jump in and tell you, when I was here last time, we put together a fairly comprehensive history of Montrose water rights. It was done orally in a council meeting by John Kappa, who was longtime city attorney many, many years ago. We thought his information was very valuable. I think it's probably about an hour long. I have it here. It's an audio file. He also did some nice memos to try and just give a narrative of where do the city's water rights come from, what's the history. It's fascinating stuff if you like historical information. This might be useful for the contractor, but also to you, Scott, and I wanted to tell you this exists because you probably have no other way of knowing that, and I'll be glad to share it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to send it along, I think I have most of it, but that's where I learned it from. So all the work of Kappa, he laid a lot of great groundwork for what we're doing now, and this will refine on that work, absolutely. But yeah, if you don't mind sending, we'd have to make sure there's nothing missing from what I have as well. Thank you.
Very good.
For educational purposes, I'd appreciate that same thing if you would.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having it sent to all of the council.
What I have is a very large media file. This would be the most interesting for you. It's an audio recording.
Can you put it in Google Drive?
Is it possible that we could have Mr. Murphy, I know I don't want to add to your workload, but if you could kind of give us the synopsis of that document? Is that a possibility?
That would
That's
be
what this
hard.
study is kind of geared to do, so it would take, we're looking to take a lot of that previous work, distill into a single place. So it will be coming. I'm happy if you want to do a presentation on, where our water come and the shares and the numbers and details of that, happy to do that at a work session as well. However, whatever's most beneficial to you.
It almost sounds like the study is going to kind of encapsulate all of that, so maybe we just wait for the study to come back.
I will share it with you on the shared drive. That's not too hard to do. I just have to copy it over there. I believe it was done in executive session, so it is attorney-client privileged information. I'll just give you that caveat.
Okay.
But we'll make it available.
Very good. Thank you.
Does it still meet attorney-client privilege in terms of the content? Or has it been so long ago that all of that is now public information?
I think it still would, having been present there. Yes, I think so. Yeah. I'll leave it there.
Okay. Thank you. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we award a professional services contract to LRE Water in the amount of $75,000 for completion of a water resource inventory and master plan as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Dave Frank,
Yes.
Barbara Bynum.
Yes.
Doug Glassbell,
Yes.
J. David Reed,
Yes.
Ed Ulibarri.
Yes.
We have a unanimous vote.
Excellent. Thank you. And we're looking forward to hearing all the feedback from our community as well. It's going to be really informative for us.
Likewise.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 12, Cedar Creek Townhome Subdivision Preliminary Plat. City Council consideration of Cedar Creek Townhomes Subdivision Preliminary Plat, and this is Planner 2, William Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a brief presentation to share. I'm pulling that up right now. Okay. So as stated, this is a preliminary plat application for the Cedar Creek Townhome Subdivision. This is a project which is located off of Cedar Creek Avenue, just south of the San Juan bypass. It's currently a vacant lot, although it does have the assigned addresses of 708, 712, 716, 720, and 724 Cedar Creek Avenue. The project site is approximately 0.3 acres in size. It's zoned R4 High Density District, which does allow for multifamily residential structures. This proposal is for a 5-townhome sublot subdivision contained within an overall parent parcel, and this includes common elements. This lot is adjacent to other properties that are also zoned R4 High Density District, as well as R3A Medium High Density District. As you all know, but for the purpose of any members of the public watching tonight, when creating a subdivision, the applicant does have to go before the Planning Commission with a sketch plan application, where the Commission has the opportunity to provide feedback to the applicant. After that, they bring the preliminary plat to the Planning Commission, which the applicant did on July 13th, where they recommended approval. And so now we're bringing this before you. Obviously, you all know that we look to make sure that the application is consistent with the master plan and with city zoning ordinances. The proposed development is compatible with the local topography and drainage. Sufficient infrastructure and utilities are available to continue with the development, and staff finds that this proposal is compatible with both the natural and built environments surrounding it, including traffic and pedestrian flow, and will be able to be serviced by emergency services and local schools. When looking at our land use chapter of the comprehensive plan, this area is listed as residential mixed density high. That allows for multifamily residences, including townhome, like we have here, as well as condo and apartments. As you know, the comprehensive plan is not a legally binding document, but this proposal does fit in with this land use designation. Zoning-wise, R4 is our high-density residential district and does allow multifamily residences. The proposal and zoning are compatible with the conditions in the area and the surrounding R4 and R3A medium-high density districts. While our comprehensive plan is a guiding document, setbacks and dimensional requirements are dictated by our zoning code, which are shown here. Keep in mind the proposal is for townhome sublots, and this building will need to comply with setback and density requirements within the overall lot, which this proposal does. And so finally here is the plat itself. As said before, this creates the 5 lots within a parent parcel. I know that all the lines here make the plat quite busy. However, there are these 5 rectangles in the center there, which are the townhomes being divided on this plat. Of course, this is also in tonight's packet where it's a little easier to see. And then I've also included the grading and utility plan. This does show the units a little bit clearer, labeled 1 through 5 on here. So in conclusion, staff finds that this preliminary plat is in compliance with the subdivision regulations and the comprehensive plan. The proposal meets the intent of the zoning district and the land use map, and staff recommends approval of the Cedar Creek Townhome Subdivision Preliminary Plat with the standard condition that we place on all preliminary plats. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Reese?
Do these have parking garages with them?
There are some outdoor parking spaces. They are required to be off-street, and the proposed parking does meet the requirements that we have with our parking requirements. I forget the section number, but it's in our code.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we will accept public comment. Is there any member of the public who wish to address this issue? And seeing none, we would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the Cedar Creek Townhome Subdivision Preliminary Plat expressly conditioned upon city staff ensuring that all policies, regulations, ordinance, and municipal code provisions are met, and that the applicant adequately addresses all of staff's concerns prior to the execution of the final plat. The city staff is not authorized by this approval to execute the final plat prior to all conditions being satisfied.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Dave Frank,
Yes.
Barbara Bynum,
Yes.
Doug Glassbell,
Yes.
J. David Reed.
Yes.
Ed Ulibarri.
Yes.
We have a unanimous vote.
Thank you, very good. And moving on to staff reports. I know we have a comment from our Deputy City Manager, Ann Morgenthaler.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Mayor. I am very happy to introduce a new staff member to you tonight. We usually wait to do this at work session after we have our new employee orientation, but I didn't want to miss a moment before I introduce you to Jace Hockwalt, who is our new planning manager. His first day is today, and he's here at the council meeting, jumping right in. And so you'll see Jace attending work sessions, council meetings, and other meetings as a department head and as the head of our incredible planning and community engagement division. So welcome, Jace.
Welcome aboard. If you would like to make a comment, we would appreciate that.
Well, thanks, Ann. Thanks, Council. I've had my eye on Montrose for quite a bit now. I think Ann has reached out over the last couple of years. I came from Grand Junction as a senior planner over the last 4.5 years. Before that, came from the Northwest up in Washington State, but thrilled to be a part of this community. I'm really excited to kind of lead the planning efforts moving forward and happy to be here.
Welcome.
Very good. And thanks for joining us tonight. That's for a long first day, but we appreciate you being here.
I didn't expect to make a public comment or be on record tonight. But,
Well, we haven't asked for the dance routine yet, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right, any other staff reports?
Hey, I just would like to make sure that City Council, again, was aware of the open house that's going to be conducted by Denver Recovery Group happening August 5th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's going to be at 130 North Park Avenue here in Montrose. They sent out flyers to a list of addresses that were within 1,000 feet of their location, of their own volition, and are excited to host people that might be interested in what's going to be happening at their clinic and answer any questions that the community members might have. I will be in attendance as well as some additional planning staff in case there are any community questions.
Very good. Any other staff comments? Seeing none, we'll turn to city council comments.
I don't have anything.
I just wanted to mention that this Saturday at the farmer's market, that we will have city council, that we're going to set up a tent out at the farmer's market and have an opportunity for members of the public to come and just ask us questions and interact and visit with us. And we just look forward to seeing people there.
Mr. Mayor, what time?
That is from 10 till 1.
10 till 1?
Yeah, and we'll be taking shifts, so you might not catch all of us there at once, but we'll at least catch one or two of us there at once.
You might also mention that Funk Fest is coming up.
Well, yeah, since we just approved a liquor license for it. Yeah, Funk Fest is a great opportunity. It's an opportunity for people to come and play in our water park and have an opportunity to listen to some live music and have some tasty beverages and maybe just enjoy a nice day out on the river. And if there are no other comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
We made a motion.
There is a motion. We are adjourned. Thank you. You guys are in stereo. That was kind of nice.